Hi folks, welcome back. I hope you're all doing well. A few weeks ago on this channel, I looked at this paper that studied what happens when you give GPT-4 to white-collar workers, to business consultants, and have the LLM help them with typical business consultant tasks. TLDR, it worked out pretty well, and they saw pretty decent jumps in performance and task completion. This week, I'm looking at the flip side of that argument, and it happens to be authored by the same first author as this paper. In this paper, the author is looking at the other side of that phenomena, which is when does using AI hurt performance rather than help it? And in this experiment, the author isn't using LLMs really. He's constructing a hypothetical AI, a predictor, for the specific task at hand. And the task at hand is for recruiters to select which candidates to interview given their resumes. And he arrives at some pretty surprising conclusions. So let's dive into how this experiment was set up and what the conclusions were. All right, so the way the experiment is set up is that the author hired a bunch of HR recruiters and gave them each 44 job applications, and the task was to select which ones to call back for an interview. Now, here's the catch. Each of them were given AI assistants in that task, but they were given different levels of AI assistance. There was one AI assistant that was quote unquote perfect in that it always returned the correct result given a candidate's resume, whether or not to hire them. And the way they arrived at this correct, perfect result was by looking at ground truth data. Read the paper for the details. I'll skip that. But there were two other AIs. There was a good AI, which was accurate about 85% of the time, and a bad AI that was accurate about 75% of the time. And the recruiters, along with deciding whether or not to select a candidate, also had to assign a confidence rating on each decision. And crucially, the recruiters were aware of the quality of their AI assistant, whether it was the perfect one or the good one or the bad one. All right, so some of the results were what you'd expect, and some of them are pretty surprising. Given that the recruiters knew the level of AI assistant they were given, whether it was perfect or good or bad, it turned out that they responded to that and were more likely to follow the recommendations of more accurate AI. So that's not that surprising. Also, compared to the case where no AI assistance was given, performance was better in the cases where any AI assistance was given, regardless of its quality. So that's also not that surprising. Also not surprising is that in terms of the performance bump that they got, the perfect AI had the biggest bump for performance. But here's the really surprising result. Even though good and bad AI both had positive effects on performance, all AI assistants did, the bad AI condition outperformed the good AI condition. What does this mean? The recruiters who got worse predictions performed a better job than the recruiters who got better predictions from their AI. The author did some more digging to find the mechanism behind this difference, and it turns out that the recruiters who got bad AI spent more time on their own on each job application. So they spent more time studying the raw material for the task before making a decision. And that's what leads to the title of the paper, Falling Asleep at the Wheel. The subjects that got better quality AI took that for granted and used it as an excuse to exert lower cognitive effort on their task. In other words, they simply followed what the AI was telling them without relying on their own judgment or their own experience. And this actually made their performance worse. So one of the big insights from this paper in terms of how AI should be designed is not that the best AI or the most perfect AI in terms of its accuracy or prediction quality is always the best. You want to design the kind of AI assistance that keeps the humans attentive in their tasks, that makes the humans still exercise their own judgment while giving them a boost in performance. Because as this paper showed, if they rely on AI all the time, they let go of their own cognitive effort. I couldn't help but notice similarities to a couple of other papers I've covered previously on this channel. The big one really is The Ironies of Automation by Bainbridge. I'll leave a link to it in the description, but that paper talks about a very similar phenomena of how humans react to automation or assistance of their cognitive processes. Another paper was this one, which is more in the realm of software, where the author studied what happens when users get more assistance from their software in terms of graying out options that aren't valid or giving them suggestions about what options they can select at any given time. And in this paper, the author found that giving more assistance in the UI to the user can actually be counterproductive. So again, very similar mechanism, very similar effect to what the author is talking about in this paper. And I wish the author had cited these two papers because I think they're pretty relevant. Anyway, so that was a look at a paper that talks about the flip side of AI assistance where performance could actually decrease. I hope you enjoyed that. If you like content like this, please like the video, consider subscribing, and I will see you next time. Thank you very much.